Go.
We can talk after. Okay.
All right, we'll call this regular scheduled session into order of the Boyle County Fiscal Court. And as is tradition, we'll start off with an invocation today by Magistrate Phil Sammons.
Thank you, Judge. Let us pray. Our most gracious Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day of life you've given us to do as we see fit. And Lord, may we do it in a profitable way that's becoming to you. Lord, we have a lot of things on our mind and on our plates today as we do the county's business. Lord, we're coming to an era that's is happy in a way, and another way it's sad as we lose our great county treasurer who's been with us so long. And Lord, I just pray that you keep your arms wrapped around her and may she enjoy her retirement. And Lord, be with our new county treasurer as he takes over, and I'm sure that with your arms wrapped around him and guidance, he'll do a wonderful job. Lord, we're so blessed with so many things, that yet we do have sorrow in our families. And Lord, I pray you will look after us and be with us. Lord, I say a special prayer for our military people and our first responders. Lord, just keep them safe, Lord, and with the guidance and that they're giving us and so on, Lord. Lord, we just ask you to be with us now as we conduct this meeting, and be with the judge as he directs us in the right way. I ask all this in your son's precious name I pray. Amen.
Amen. All right, if you follow me, and we'll pledge allegiance to our flag. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. And next on the agenda is to approve some minutes. We have two sets, regular meeting on the 15th day of September and a special call on the 17th.
Make a motion to approve them both.
Second.
Motion made to approve the minutes both of the regular September 15th meeting and the special called 17th September meeting. Any discussion? Motion made by Magistrate Sammons and seconded by Magistrate Ellis. Again, we're witnessing history in the making.
No change.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign, motion carries. Thank you for that, gentlemen. That's a great start to today. All right, next Miss Mariah is on deck, I believe, to pay some bills. Mariah?
Mariah.
I could actually hear you this time around. All right, so for bills to be approved to be paid, we've got a total of $435,325.63. For standing orders, our total is $376,330.04.
I move we pay the bills as presented.
Second.
Motion made to approve the bills as presented by Magistrate Gay and seconded by Magistrate Sammons. Any discussions or questions about the bills? There being none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign, motion carries. Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
All right, next, we got some budget transfers.
I'll circulate the budget transfers again, and then basically something was last meeting, COVID-19 related refund.
I move we approve the budget transfers as presented.
All right. Is there a second to the request?
Second.
Seconded, motion made by Magistrate Gay, seconded by Magistrate Kaywood to make the presented budget transfers. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. And next, cash transfers.
We have two cash transfers this time, both from the general fund. One is going to the joint jail in the
Make a motion to approve it.
Motion made to approve cash transferred by Magistrate Sammons,
Second.
seconded by Magistrate Gay. Questions, comments, or discussions? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. All right, we're moving right along here now. We do have a substitute for A. Circumstances exist where Mr. Coffey would not be here today. So we have some late breaking information that is of high value to the county and to the court. And so we're gonna, I have consented to allow it to be a substitute in A. And if we could ask Miss Mike Gibson Lucretia to come in, and we'll present some information. There she is.
Good morning.
How are
Good
you
morning.
all? Sorry, I'm gonna pull down just a little, at least my glasses won't fog out. Good morning. Thank you
Morning.
all for allowing me to have this opportunity to give you a quick update on our 2016 tax appeal with Kroger. So yes, I did say 2016. So I'm here today to let you know, after 4 years of this in the court system, I feel we've exhausted all means.
Might get a little closer to the mic, just
Sorry.
for, yeah, there you go.
Usually I'm loud enough, but anyway. Like I said, after 4 years with this one specific case, the 2016 case in the court system, I feel that we've exhausted all means with the court system on establishing a fair and equitable assessment for the Kroger. Both Kroger and I have made the decision to enter in an agreed upon order for tax years 2016 through tax year 2020. So with that being said, we feel that the assessment we agreed upon is both fair and equitable and what's best for Boyle County. I would just like to take this opportunity to thank both you, the Fiscal Court, and also Mr. Stephen Dexter for his hard work in this case. At this point, we have, due to the supplemental billing that will be done from Department of Revenue, I do not have an actual tax amount of dollars that this will generate. Once that is done, that can be presented once the bills are, ready for Kroger to pay. So just want to tell you all thank you, give you an update so we can move forward. We have 12,800 and some parcels in Boyle County. Almost 900 of them are commercial properties, and we here in Boyle County are bigger than one commercial, property and assessment. So we both agreed, Kroger and I. So we will move forward from this point forward. So thank you for your time.
And this is very good information. And I, in talking with our treasurer a little earlier, and our PVA has gone over and above to yank this settlement out of the dustbin of history, so to speak, and put it where it is, which is of value to our county. And she deserves much credit for being where we are today, and I'd like to recognize you for those efforts.
Yeah.
Thank you,
very
Mike.
much.
Good job.
What,
Thank you, sir.
what was this last, settlement or,
Okay.
the last appraisal on that property?
The agreed upon order, 2016's assessment will be $4.3 million.
And they agreed on it?
They did, yes, sir. And then 2017 to 2020 will be $4.45 million due to the expansion when they did the enclosing of the liquor store there. So that's the difference in 16 versus 17 through 2020 was the addition they made. So, yes, they did. Mr. Dexter?
What did we first start out at, about 6 million?
No, sir. It was a little over $5 million by the time they added that. They were at 2.75 is what they wanted to pay
Right.
on. We were a little over $5 million. Multiple appraisals, multiple opinions. That is what, an assessment or, an appraisal, an opinion of value. So at some point, we could argue this through this court system, and we were 4 years in on one tax year. And I just think it's beneficial for the taxpayers of Boyle County
Well, I agree.
Yeah.
like I said, we're bigger than one commercial assessment. We have
Yeah.
12,000 parcels, and it is a fair and equitable assessment. I do believe it is. Kroger believes it is, and that's why we decided to move forward and enter into this agreement.
And I think it's, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Thank you so much for stepping in. I know you had some big shoes to fill, and
Yes, sir.
with,
Yes, sir.
and you probably knew we adjourned in Eddie's memory last court meeting. We all loved Eddie, and I know you did too.
Thank you very much.
Working with him.
Yes. He and I both spent many long, hard years on this, and we honestly were going to leave it in the decision of the court. And we just felt like we exhausted all measures. Some of the rulings in the court were not what was best for Boyle County, so entering into this agreement, we feel like we are able to get what Boyle County deserves, and Kroger agreed.
Judge, do you need a motion on this?
I don't believe so. You had something you
I'm
wanted
sorry,
to
No, I think it's important to note that Kroger is a valuable member of this community, and
Absolutely.
I think that working together, and I think these are fair numbers, and they serve a very important community need here with this. So I'm grateful that they are being a good community partner, and I appreciate all your hard work. And like Magistrate Sammons said, we appreciate the work of Mr. Tammy and all that he did to make sure that everybody's taken care of in the community. So
It's been
thank
a
you.
nightmare for you, and we realize that.
It has, and it's been a little, we did agree, Kroger and I, to do a joint press release, because neither one of us are wanting to go out here and be like, hey, we won, you won. It's not about that.
No.
It's just about moving forward,
Right.
moving on. We felt like both sides had exhausted all means, so we just felt it was time.
We don't really need a motion, but what I would like to entertain, if you want to make a motion, is that the court express through written minutes that our appreciation for the PBA's efforts to bring this long ordeal to a conclusion.
I'll make that motion. I second that. Great.
Yeah, thank you.
We have multiple motions,
Seconds.
and a second by Magistrate Salmon.
Thank
And
you.
all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Thank you very much. Bye.
Thank you all very much.
Maya, we're gonna have a moment of silence for you, especially where you live and the neighbors you have.
That's rough. It's rough.
She would love a little silence over there, wouldn't she?
Maya's doing a good job.
She is.
Need Niki, I guess.
Tom's getting his steps in today.
That's right,
Thank you very much. Hi, everybody.
Good morning.
Morning. Morning.
Miss you all. Oh, goodness. Well, I figure everyone is sharing with you some of their COVID numbers and what's happening in the last 6 months. So I figure I'll do the same thing with Art Center. And can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, good.
I hope, yes, I think so.
Okay. And thank you, by the way. Thank you very much for supporting us again this year. I know times are tough for everyone, so we got a little bit of a different support from the fiscal court, but we do appreciate that you see the value of what we're doing, so thank you very much. Okay, so we did close from March 14th to June 9th and canceled 38 public programs, 8 private events, 1 entire exhibit, a fundraising gala, and, as you know, the art festival. So all the staff began working remotely, and the organization immediately started doing online programming, many things that were free, most things that we did were free, with our new goal of engaging the community and fostering connections here. So some of the examples of that would be, we created how-to videos and put those out online for kids to create how to draw a puppy, that kind of thing. We facilitated online meetings for our local art groups. We did challenges for the community, like the chalk challenge or the Easter egg chalk challenge. We had virtual versions of our exhibits, so figured out quickly how to get what was in the building online, and many online classes and different programming like book clubs and movie discussions. Then in April, we created what is called the Art Box. It's like a blessing box concept, and so we put that out front to deliver free projects and materials to people in the community. And let's see. So and then our summer camp was highly affected, but we pivoted and we did, rather than have students in the building, we created online versions of our camps and also camp boxes for people to buy. So our financial realities, at the time in March, we had 5 full-time staff, and with the closure, we laid off 2 people, and we have been able to reinstate one of those people. And of the nearly 50% of the Art Center's annual $350,000 operating budget is derived from earned income, like classes in building rentals and art sales. So that, income has slowed down to a trickle. But thanks to cash reserves and a PPP loan and an emergency grant from the National Endowment for the Arts, we've been stable in this crisis. So we're feeling very good about that. And we've also received strong financial support from our community. In planning for the 2021 fiscal year, the Art Center has designed a series of scenario budgets designed to provide stability during a very uncertain year. So the Board of Directors established some guiding principles for this year, prioritizing health and safety. And currently, the Art Center is working in scenario A with a projected budget of $294,000. And now it's clear to us that the short-term crisis is, more of a prolonged period of time. And so we are continuing to do online classes. Our framework is now parallel programming. So a lot of what we do, we have a component that's online. So all of our exhibits are in-house and online. Our classes that we are doing in-house, you can also do online. And that is how we're answering that. For example, we have a kids visual arts class that meets weekly for 8 weeks. And we have 8 students who are coming into the building, and then we have 10 additional students who are doing it online, which is interesting because it also allows us to have students from Lexington, Louisville, and outside of the state, which we're finding to be true. And then we're helping the schools respond to their situation. We have a very robust field trip program, and so this year we have already serviced 500 kids in our local districts through this online version of our field trip program. We were able to put material bags together and get those to kids when they picked up their Chromebooks through the schools. And there's a video component, there's a online learning component, and then there's a live Zoom with Brandon Long, and then there's a hands-on component. And we've launched a new online store selling artwork and handcrafted goods. And then, we've really had the community support us in this process, and it's really been received well. For example, our fall art exhibit, we have a record number of art sales from that exhibit. Our monthly giving program has doubled, and registration for fall programming is strong, certainly less than normal because we have less programming, but overall we are doing well. Our staff model is a little different. Most of us are working remotely and having some time in the building. We have people in the building all the time, but one staff member is completely remote. So that is a very quick overview of where the Art Center is during this COVID time. Do you have questions?
I was glad to hear about the grant that you guys got. It was about $50,000, I think it was, which was fantastic.
Yeah, even with that $50,000 grant, we are using $30,000 of reserve funds to get us to a budget of, $50,000 less. So, yeah. But we've been able to do that, and we're very lucky.
The CVB gave out some bourbon barrels to put around the town, and that kind of made me think of, an idea that I think would be great. I don't know if you guys probably already thought about this, but, a possible bourbon barrel painting contest. We've got so many talented artists in this community, That would be great to kind of, get some more barrels from Wilderness and possibly do some sort of, painting contest where they could kind of be placed around town in different stores and in the art center as well. And then at some point auction them off. I think they do that kind of, similar stuff with Lexington with the horses and stuff like that, but this would kind of really, bring attention to Wilderness, who's now on the Bourbon Trail, you all, and just more of the artists that we have, and I don't know if that's something that could be done through.
I think the CVB has talked about that. It's been done before for a few years.
United Way did it before.
Yeah, United
Yeah.
Way did it, and 3 or 4 years, and I think they stopped because everybody had a bourbon barrel that they wanted, kind of thing. But it is a different time because we are
Yeah.
on the trail, and we have been in talk. We have talked to the CVB about that possibility.
Yeah.
When we talked about it, was an outdoor possibility, and there's some problems around painting. When we did the door project for the Heart of Danville, that didn't work very well because the paints that were used, they start to peel off. So there'd just be some parameters that artists aren't used to using when they do out.
Right.
So
Yeah, John and
yeah.
I especially know the feelings of a decreased revenue during
Yeah.
COVID, so we understand. So
Yeah.
the business industry is trying to think of all the other
Yeah, we have
entities.
a bourbon barrel. We got it a few months ago, and put a nice little tourism, bourbon
Yeah.
tourism area in the art center. I think
I've
it's
got
a-
4 of them sitting in my restaurant, and I'm just trying to think what to do with them. I mean, they
Yeah.
look great, but I'm like, it'd be kind of cool, and so that's why.
Yeah.
We've got 2, and we love having them.
Yeah, I think we're gonna use them as table.
I'd like to leave them outside, but I want them to be there the next day. It's true.
Yeah.
We have to leave them outside.
My truck's in the shop.
One other quick question, during
Sure,
budget
of course.
times, of course, we tried taking care of as many people as possible with what we could. And that brings up the question of we've got the Art Center of the Bluegrass and then the Community Arts Center. Is there a way to possibly try to combine those 2 entities?
So
Is
the
that
Arts
something?
Commission you're referring to?
I'm sorry,
Yes.
Arts Commission, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's an important, that we've been in conversations with a number of entities here locally about shared resources in this time, and certainly for the next few few years, what are overlapping programs that are happening. And we have tried, actually, in the
Okay.
past to do that with the Arts Commission. We brought a
Figured.
mediator, and the Art Center absolutely sees value in that, because there's value in what we're all doing, but there's some overlap there as well.
Yeah.
So we would be absolutely open to that conversation
Okay,
again.
great,
So,
perfect. That's all I have, sorry, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you,
for
thank
everything.
you very much.
Have a great day.
Thanks, you too.
Could
Bye-bye.
you send Mike Rogers in?
Mike Rogers?
Good morning.
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 Good, thank you for coming forward.
How are you?
Good, how are you today?
Good, thank you. Someone looks tired.
So first for today, I'd like to consider a full-time hire of Cassie Centers. She's a full-time EMT. She's been here before. She's been part-time with us for a couple of years. Effective immediately at the pay rate of $9.50, please.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Motion been made for a full-time hire in EMS. Magistrate Cullen, second by Magistrate Gay. Is there any questions or comments or discussions? There being none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Does that bring you up, are you full staff?
That'll put us back to
Okay.
staff, yes, sir. The next agenda item is the agreement with the BAA with Heritage Hospice and the agreement, which was handed out last court meeting. I have some copies if you need it again. On the agreement, on the BAA, we didn't change anything on the agreement. We changed some language about an ambulance, wheelchair van, which we don't have, and then some language about JCO, which is a Joint Commissions. It's a hospital. It doesn't exist in the EMS world. So other than that, that's all we changed.
Make a motion to approve it, Judge.
Second.
Motion to approve the Heritage Hospice contract is presented, and this does have Attorney Herron's blessing also.
It
That was my
Okay.
question. Mary, did you look at this at all, or no? Any questions?
We did get a copy of it. We don't have a problem with the content of it. We just need an updated version of it for the
Right.
auditor for our file.
Right, exactly.
That's signed. And I know that you approved the Heritage Hospice. Did you all approve the BAA?
There's two in there. We did not. We did the ambulance agreement.
Right, with Heritage Hospice. Then there's the HIPAA.
There's two, yeah.
He's gonna talk about the second one here shortly, right? This is just, the motion was on the ambulance agreement, is that right?
Well, on the agenda, it's listed the BAA first, and then I
BAA.
didn't know if you want to do it together in one motion.
No, let's do them separate.
Okay.
We'll do the
Yes, sir.
I
BAA.
actually took his language as being joint meeting.
That's,
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
We can,
it's up to you.
That's fine with me. If y'all want to entertain a joint approval of both the
Make
ambulance
a-
agreement and the
I'll add
BAA.
that in my motion.
Okay.
Approve them both at the same time.
All right.
Second.
Motion's been made by Magistrate Sammons, seconded by Magistrate Ellis to approve both of these agreements in one vote. Is there any comments, questions, or discussions?
not a,
There being none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign, motion carries.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you, Mike.
Judge.
you send Sheriff in?
Send Sheriff in. We're moving right along, Judge.
I like it.
I do too.
Don't jinx us.
I may get home time for breakfast.
We haven't got the other yet.
I thought it was lunchtime for you.
It is, yeah.
Uh-oh.
Good morning.
Good morning, Sheriff.
Morning.
Howdy, howdy. I'm taking my mask
We'll
off.
approve whatever you need. He's got.
This is Peter. He's going to explain kind of the ins and outs and functions of the camera system that we're interested in implementing. He can go over any questions that you have because a lot of it's above my head.
Peter, what's your last name for the record, for video?
Klaus.
Klaus.
What's first name again?
Peter?
Peter.
T-E-A-T-E-R.
The H is silent.
Cloud, is that a dark cloud or a light cloud?
Klaus.
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 Santa Klaus.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Santa, I got all the gifts.
All right.
Is everybody okay with me?
Yeah, please,
16.
you know, just want to make sure this mic is what picks you up as much as we can.
Absolutely. Does this echo
That's
through
fine.
speakers,
No,
or that's
good.
fine?
There's
Okay.
no echo there. It's good.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm Peter with WatchGuard Video, and do a real brief background of who WatchGuard is. So we've been in mobile audio video solutions for law enforcement for close to 20 years. We are a Motorola Solutions company, so that's a recognized name pretty much anywhere. And there's two things I'm going to really highlight. One of them is that we are a true U.S. manufacturer, so we design, engineer, build, and assemble and support the products that I have here today. So I think that's important in today's world, especially with everything that has gone on, where supply chains get affected tremendously, and how we could still support and service our customers.
What state is this manufactured in?
I'm sorry?
Where's it manufactured?
Texas. So the facility is in Allen, Texas, and that's just a suburb on the north side of Dallas.
Thank you.
So, yeah, absolutely. And the next part I want to talk about is, well, there's lots of camera vendors, right? So I always say, why WatchGuard? What is it that WatchGuard does that makes it different from everybody else? And our key feature here that we have is called Record After the Fact. And there's lots of other features that I'll talk about, if we have time, about the camera system and how it performs, how it's really designed for that end user, right? That law enforcement officer. But what Record After the Fact actually is, and I'll use our body-worn camera, since this technology is on our in-car as well, I'll use the body cam as the example here, right? So in today's world with law enforcement, I always say they don't know what they're getting involved in, right? When they get a call, it could be a domestic call, they can do a traffic stop, we don't know the necessary outcome of what will happen on that day-to-day shift. One of the challenges with a body-worn camera or any camera is that officer always able to activate their camera, right? And the answer is, and we've seen this across the country, no. In a high-stress situation, it is very challenging for anybody, but definitely a law enforcement officer who's highly trained to remember maybe in a use of force, or if there's a shooting involved to say, hey, let me turn my camera on and then we'll get started, right? Doesn't work that way. So record after the fact gives a department the ability on this camera in particular to go back and pull up to 50 hours before the event off this device. So that gives tremendous flexibility and accountability not only for the officer but to have that record, right, of the events, of what happened. The pre-event part as well, right? So what happened before this event unfolded. So
It's on, it's recording, so he or she is not touching it?
So currently in its state, yes, but it actually does not save. So what does that mean, right? So as maybe a normal traffic stop situation, I get out of my vehicle, I might have turned my blue lights on, whatever it is, but I could push this button and go into record, right? Everybody sees I got a red light, lots of different ways to configure this camera. And then when I end this recording, I created that 1-minute video just now, right? So I hope everybody smiled, right? You're on camera, right? So what that record after the fact is, that time that I did not hit the record button is available. And what does that mean? It's a passworded administrative function, typically, but there's a way to get that video through that password. Now that, we call it a loop, so you can almost think of it as a snake eating its own tail, almost like a window of video available, but it actually never downloads. So what the benefit of that system is we're not recording an officer 24/7. They still have their expected level of privacy, I would say, just like anybody, right? But it gives you a means and ability to get the video in the event the unexpected occurs and they're not able to activate that camera.
So let me clarify that. So that's actually recording continuously in the cloud, not on the device itself. But if you want it to record on the device itself, it's when you push the button. Is that what you're saying?
So that's incorrect. It's not in the cloud. It's all on this device.
Okay.
Yep. And then, but you are correct in the sense that after so many hours, video will fall off. It just starts overriding, right? So I always like to say it's just that how do I say this? A window of opportunity to get video that was not recorded.
Then what's the necessity to push the button to record?
So really, that would be.
Does that make it like resident all the time, and you do not lose it outside the loop?
That's correct.
Okay.
So that is.
So that's the benefit of that.
Exactly. So you would say that is an actual record that a official is creating.
Got it.
So now this body camera it fully integrates with the in-car system, and this proposal has in-car video and body-worn camera. So all the triggers tied to a vehicle. And I'll give you an example of that. That would be lights, siren. There's an auxiliary that could be hooked to maybe like a shotgun or rifle release button, things like that, that automatically activate this camera system. So if you're a law enforcement and you hit your blue lights in your vehicle, you would say, okay, well, we want this recording. You're activating your lights. Maybe you're doing a traffic stop or whatever the case may be. That will automatically kick on both of these cameras. So yes, sir.
A prime example for officers. The blue lights are on, they're running actually a green light, and they get broadsided. That's going to know somehow, if it's angled toward that green light, that the officer was not only with his blue lights on, but he or she also went through a green light and they were broadsided by it.
Correct.
That's somehow going to be recorded.
Yes.
For their protection.
Correct, and that's captured, I'm sorry, but I was just going to say that's captured more so typically on the in-car camera system because you have a nice dedicated camera mounted in the patrol car.
I understand.
But body cam could
So you gotta
potentially
double
get
up.
it
It also works on the violator as well. If I'm approaching a stop sign and somebody just blows the stop sign right in front of me and I activate my lights, I obviously wasn't recording at the time of the violation, but it goes to the pre-event that I could actually get the violation on camera.
So there is not a necessity of punching that button.
Correct.
Correct.
And what it does is you can have it set up to record when you hit the button or flip your lights on. You can have it set to what's the time limit.
It can be up to 2 minutes.
Up to 2 minutes ahead of time. So, you know, I had some experience with this at Danville has things system. And, you hit your blue light, it's going back 2 minutes in time if you set it that far.
It calls then into question the battery life.
Mm-hmm. So battery life on this device, which we engineered from the ground up to have 12 hours of battery life, right? So that would be a full shift. And what are your shifts here? 10s. So that will handle it fine. The other design advantage that we came out with this model, so this is our 3rd generation body-worn camera, is we have a hot swappable, and the first in the industry to bring that hot swappable battery to the industry. So what does that look like exactly? I've got batteries docked over there, but there's a cradle in the vehicle associated with the in-car and body-worn camera system where there could be a spare battery at any given time. So if you have, it could be an issue with a battery, right? It's a mobile device. Nobody ever has any issues with their batteries on their phones, right? Ever, right? So the idea is that, okay, if there's an issue, or really if you're working an event, working beyond that 12-hour or 10-hour time period, maybe you go into 16 hours, whatever the case may be, you have an easy way to grab a fresh, fully charged battery and plug it into your body-worn camera.
Thank you.
So the life of those batteries run, I mean, I'm talking about the life where, you know, radio batteries will last you a couple of years. What's the life of that battery?
Yeah, it'll probably be 2 years or so, maybe 3 years. It's hard to say.
Replacement cost for that then?
$99.
Thank you.
Okay, the officer ends his shift. I assume he comes in and turns that in, that battery's been recharged for the next shift, am I correct?
That is correct. That's correct.
And how many batteries can you charge at one time with this device?
So
8 ports.
there's an 8-bay dock here I have on display. I'd have to look and see how many we put in the proposal. But, you know, there could be multiple at an agency.
We don't have a charging dock in your car.
There will be one in the car,
So
yes.
what'll happen is, these videos will automatically upload to the cloud, to the storage device.
So you can recharge it in your car? if you
Yes,
need
you
it.
just, and so when your shift's over, you just put it in the dock, and then when you come back to shift the next day, it's charged and you put it on.
Obviously, cost is going to be a major part of our discussion.
Right.
Does every officer have to have this, or do they turn them in and the next officer, next shift gets it?
So we could structure it any which way, but I think it was mainly
Each officer has their individual camera.
Yeah. Now,
It has their name, all of their information on that.
Yeah,
On that
probably
device.
something you don't want to share.
So storage just like this?
Yes.
And how
Yeah, I
many-
wouldn't wanna share devices just because,
Court officers are not going to get these, though,
No,
right?
no,
Okay.
this is only
No,
ones that
no
have
bailiffs, just-
vehicles, and the cameras that they're vehicle specific anyway. So it's just to eliminate any confusion, each deputy will have that camera that they'll use every day, so there's no question on who had the camera on at the time
yeah.
or any of that. It's just.
And how many are you requesting or going to?
17.
17.
17.
Another advantage of having these per person is they're paired. So when you're going to look at a traffic stop, you know, where we've searched the car and all that kind of stuff, it will show the body camera video and the cruiser video. It links those two together. So they're in time sync and everything else. So you're not only getting the sort of bird's eye view of the cruiser, but you're also getting the view that the officer has within reason of, you know, what he's seeing inside the car and things like that.
You'd made a comment about swapping out the batteries.
Yes.
While that battery is not connected, there's no recording happening of that, right?
That's correct. There's no power.
Do you see any issues with that, Sheriff? You know,
No, honestly, I don't see us having to swap batteries out a lot, because you have the ability to charge that even, you know, if I'm in the office doing a report, there's nothing to say I couldn't stick that in the charging dock.
I would hate to leave a window of opportunity, not saying that our deputies would do that, but I don't want there to ever be like, I was charging, I had to switch out batteries, that's why I didn't get that.
That's going to come down to policy. Same thing with technically, you know, I can unhook it from its cradle and leave it, but that comes to policy.
Okay.
And, you know, that's a.
We have about 3 different model policies from different agencies right now that we're going through to implement.
I would think that any governmental entity that went through the expense of providing these devices, that would have a fairly significant penalty if somebody did that purposely.
Our whole purpose for going with WatchGuard is the quality that it's gonna record all the time and or we can go back and hit a button to get that pre-event.
Right.
I mean, if we weren't gonna implement a good policy, we can just get a cheaper camera. I
Yeah.
mean, and okay, I forgot to hit the button. Okay, you know, it's a stressful situation, but that's not gonna be acceptable to us or the public. So that's why we're looking at WatchGuard, because that is about as foolproof of a recording system.
It
as
takes a
you
lot
can
of
have.
the mistakes out of the
Perfect.
equation.
That's what we're looking for.
Just like my phone saying 97%, what indicates that?
This one has a 96% right now, and it does have an indicator on its screen. So,
Okay.
looks like a battery too, should not be foreign to anybody who's ever used a cell phone in the past 10 years, right? But to be aware of that and going down to policy.
Okay, great, thank you.
Yep.
So has the county attorney determined that this is, doesn't have to be put out to bid?
That was my next question.
I was thinking the same thing.
Because they've circulated this quote and,
What little discussion that I've had about that is, they are, I don't know what the correct term is, almost an absolute vendor
Sole source.
with these features. There's no other vendor that has that pre-event recording.
I would certainly get something in writing to protect the fiscal court, whether it be from your county attorney or from, that it is,
Where is our attorney?
The sole
well, the
source.
treasurer needs that, unless you all are planning to purchase those yourselves.
Yeah, and we do have a sole source vendor.
Sheriff, are you telling us that, this is the only company out there that's got the exact, I mean, no other company out there similar to this, is what you're saying?
There's other
There
camera
are
companies.
other camera companies, but for instance, if I pull up and I'm going in a gas station to get a Slurpee,
Okay.
and there's an armed robbery in progress, and I don't think to hit my button because I draw my weapon and I go in and I engage this guy and we get in a gunfight,
Okay,
and then I'm hitting my button, and because I remember, and the guy's already laying there and it's over. None of that interaction was captured on camera because I didn't hit my button. With this camera, I can go back way before I even pulled into the gas station and record me walking in and getting a Slurpee, and then there's a robbery. So now I've got the whole confrontation, because that's ultimately.
well, I'm thinking like Murray's thinking here in a minute. We're gonna be audited, and here we have one bid to buy these cameras, and I
I
don't know.
mean, we know absolutely that there is not another system out there in the country that does what WatchGuard does. Is that what I'm hearing you say?
That is correct, and record after the fact.
You know, I'm not disputing you, but I have that hard to find.
So, but I will just say, record after the fact, I can find the patent number, but that is an exclusive patented feature by WatchGuard and has been for 10, 15 years, somewhere around there.
That's kind of where I thought we would go, because there's only going to be one Apple phone, because they've got patented technology, and I'm sure that Motorola has patented this as well.
There's another company called Taser, I'm sure y'all heard of.
Where's Chris at?
In court.
I guess my question would be, these are probably the top of the line when it comes to cameras. So if we do bids, the cheaper camera system is gonna be cheaper.
No, it's always it's the lowest and best bet, and there's determinations that can be made. And so, there's no reason
All right.
not to go through the exercise unless there's documented proof somewhere that.
If you wrote your specs though, if you wrote your specs with that in it, having that ability, there's nobody else that could bid because they don't have that in their equipment.
Officer Morrell,
In their
Morrell's
bid.
just gonna speak
They're
to that, I
right.
wanna hear.
Axon, which is a subsidiary of Taser, everybody's heard of Tasers, we all carry them. They have one that even mounts to your glasses and all this other stuff, or it can mount on your shoulder. Louisville has this. It does not have pre-event recording. I think we would benefit greatly by having that pre-event recording, because those
Well, you can define that in your specification.
I'm just telling you,
Just
it
saying.
causes a
Just
significant
saying.
issue if you do not
Following
have.
up to Mary's comments, there is somebody out there, I heard Phil say something too, Mr. Sammons. There is somebody out there who's trying to develop pre-event. If we were to proceed and found out on the eve before we accepted your bid that they now have pre-event, for lack of a better, using that term generically, and it could do exactly what you're doing. I'm sure that just like Motorola was the first radio my folks had, and maybe the first TV, but look at all the variations of all the patents that
Rigby,
have done
Idaho.
exactly the same thing that Motorola TVs do today. So we do have to be extraordinary.
Well, and the question, I think the question is to the fiscal court is, who is going to be the purchaser of this equipment? And that's a question that doesn't need to involve Mr. Cloud.
No, I mean, because honestly, I'd like to circle this back because this is a presentation from WatchGuard.
Right.
This isn't saying that we've selected them.
Okay.
And we can very easily put into motion.
But there was a quote that was circulated.
Understand, but we can go back to a very easily in the motion saying that as long as we have something from the county attorney that says we do not have to go outside for another quote because of specific technology that they possess that nobody else possesses, we are okay. But I would still like to get through the rest of this presentation before we even get to anything else, because that's what he's here for. So he can explain his product. The sheriff can explain why he thinks this is the best one for us, and then we can go through. It would be nice if Chris was here, but he's not because he's in court. So please continue on with your presentation. Sheriff, we'd love your input as well. And then if we decide to move forward, we can make a motion with the pretense that upon, speaking with counsel and then where the payments are coming from with that, I think.
We need to determine who's going,
I think at the end of the day.
Outside of the fiscal court meeting, there needs to be a conversation about finances. That's just my personal opinion.
Agreed. When the sheriff's committee met this morning, that was one of the first things that we said. I actually said, last thing I want to do is upset Mary on her final few days.
No, I'm not upset. My job is to take care of the finances of the county.
And you do a fantastic job,
that's what I'm here to
and
do.
we appreciate you always protecting us
from ourselves.
From Tom. But anyway, so yeah. With that being said, continue.
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate it, and always good to have healthy conversation, right? So yes, record after the fact. That's our flagship feature, right? And you can see the absolute need for agencies to have that. Now that did stem from our in-car video system, and I'm just going to highlight some of the rest of the features here, where the in-car video system is closer to 80 and 90 hours of time you can go back. So that comes into play a lot of times where an officer may have driven past a burglary in progress but didn't know it was a burglary in progress, and here's the suspect's car, right, and license plate. So a lot of benefits to that technology. We have a panoramic camera. That's a patented feature on our in-car system as well, where you get close to 150, 160 degree field of view out of the front of that patrol car at all times. Critical, right? So that we were just talking about how that patrol car can be a mobile office sometimes, and how often things happen right in front of that car. So
bumper as opposed to dash mount on that peripheral?
No.
That's still a dash?
It's still dash. It's actually on display here. It's a dual camera system, so that top lens is actually panoramic. I'm sorry, it's hard for you guys to see back there. The bottom is high definition on a turret lens. It has ALPR functionality as well, so I'm kind of throwing out a lot of stuff here, but really the power of Motorola leveraging all the technology available that they have for law enforcement agencies. But that bottom lens makes it very easy for a deputy to turn the camera, maybe do field sobriety tests, where then you have a body-worn camera first-person view and a good third-person high-definition view as well. So when you look at the solution end-to-end, designed right for the law enforcement officer in mind, very simple and easy to use. Yes, sir.
I think at this point in the essence of time, I think a very important feature is the no-hands capability of recording and downloading to the cloud, and how the officer can't alter the recorded videos on either the dash camera or the body. Explain to the court how that process works to come in and download the cameras to the cloud.
Yeah, absolutely. So Wi-Fi and LTE, however, secure, CJIS compliant. So what does that mean? Evidence collected in the field can't be tampered with. It is securely transmitted from what we say sometimes car to court, which is collecting evidence in the field, and when it's presented at court, it's untouched, it's unmodified. There's a whole log of chain of custody to say how it arrived in the system, how long it's been on the system, who viewed the video, so on and so forth. So truly untampered video at the end of the day, evidence, we should say. So, and to go to cloud is really a connection, so that could be accomplished via Wi-Fi or LTE. And
we had an incident several months ago where literally this was in our jail, but it could happen out on the streets. It took 5 or 6 men and women to take the guy down. What is protecting this from being compromised, if not totally smashed, and in particular a one-on-one officer
right.
to perpetrator? What's protecting it from falling off or even getting smashed?
Yeah, so we always like to say, and I've been in this industry for 10 years, that nothing is cop-proof at the end of the day. We've seen it all as far as how a device can be damaged, right, in the line of work because of what you just described, right? We don't know what we're getting involved in. Now, it does have a military spec rating as well. We can get the specs for you on that for shock, dust, moisture, waterproof, all that great stuff. But really the mounting mechanism depends on the actual attire that, you know, somebody in the jail may be working or a road patrol officer may be working, but heavy-duty magnets, MOLLE, all of those designed for law enforcement. The magnet mounts, we've actually seen cases where the magnets have not broken apart or failed, but the shirt's been ripped, right? So when a shirt gets ripped in an altercation, it's very tough to come up with a design that will stay on that officer even further than that. So, but it is designed for physical altercations, right? We know what line of work that these officers are getting involved in, so. Which we can present this, you just have to watch your fingers.
I do remember talking, or I remember hearing Chief Gray speak to the ability to go in and review footage that had not been technically recorded when he was speaking with a large group out at Pioneer a couple months back. And he said that that's been a very valuable tool, and so he said that's helped them to be able to not only, you know, go back and get extra information and evidence, but also assist with corrective action that needed to be had. Maybe some extra education for the officers. So.
A bizarre concern here. Before my doctor fixed me, I'm back to 2030, but it was way off of that. An officer could be indicted for your high definition, because the high definition sees things that in the instant of crisis he or she does not see.
Right.
So high def on the dash could be indicting to an officer because that officer has 20/40 vision and this has 20/10.
Mm-hmm.
I guess there's no way around that.
Yeah,
Let's let him go ahead without asking questions. It would be permissible, and make his presentation, and then let's ask questions.
Well, I know Bill wants to say something about the process of downloading to the cloud, uploading to the cloud.
Yes, sir, Mr. Klaus. What kind of infrastructure is needed to upload this to the cloud? In other words, what kind of speeds would we need to get this efficiently stored where it needs to be stored?
Yeah, so that's going to depend on two things. If you're looking at Wi-Fi, when you come back, the vehicle comes back to the
courthouse parking lot there.
Yeah, the parking lot here, right? So you're going to have a Wi-Fi connection available there, and it's going to depend on the number of vehicles that come during that shift change. So based on that, we have a calculator that can say what is needed. I think last time when we visited here, we would want somewhere around 100 megabits per second upload speed, if possible. Now, that doesn't mean that the process will fail if you have less than that. It would just take some more time to upload that video. And the challenge as well too is that calculators can give you an estimate. It doesn't give you, you know, a slower shift or a more busy shift, right? So that can just give you a roundabout estimate of it. So 100 megabits per second is a good place to really start and work with, based on how many come back at shift change on average.
Day shift 2 to 4, night shift 1 and
Yeah, so really less than 100 megabits per second. That would be optimal. You can get away with 50 to 60, most likely. So.
Speaking on experience from my Danville time, because they have the same system when it downloads, except they're not sending it to the cloud, they're sending it to a server. But it's not just doing it at a certain time. Anytime, I come up here to get new paperwork to go serve or something like that, it's downloading what it can. So every time we're parked here, it's downloading. It's not a set time where I come in and hit a download button. Anytime I'm within range of that Wi-Fi, it's sucking it out and storing it.
But, and it's downloaded to James Monroe's file, or whatever, I guess, or to your card number. Or whatever.
It's not us storing it, it's them storing it.
Oh, I know.
Yeah, that's.
But it's identified by the person who
Yes.
is wearing the device.
Yeah.
All right, so
And it picks up where it left off.
let's get to the meat and potatoes. What's the total cost on this for the county taxpayers?
We're saying we don't want to do that right now.
We should be talking about that if you all haven't made a definitive decision about how it's going
All right,
to.
so I can't find out how much it's going to cost?
No, you don't want a public, if you all choose to put this out to bid and you've already released his bid, it's not fair to him.
Okay. All right.
Just saying.
We got some more work to do on that. But I wanted the court to hear the technological presentation by WatchGuard, because I've heard it before. I thought I was impressed by it. There are certain elements of not patent pending, but patent holding technologies that they have over competitors, and I'll just leave it at that. Yes, sir.
Okay, go ahead.
Who uses this other than Danville around us, maybe in the state of Kentucky? Is there a lot of folks who use your system?
Yeah, and a lot is, it's hard to say what a lot is, right? But generally speaking, in Kentucky, the agencies that have active camera systems, you will run into WatchGuard pretty often, but I can name off a few. Frankfort Police Department, has our system. When you look at closer to Louisville, St. Matthews, and Shively, Fort Mitchell up north, we go all.
Is that what you're saying?
Danville
Yes, they
has this
do.
system.
Yes.
What does Lexington use, just out of curiosity?
They have Axon. Yep.
They have Axon.
They do. And then there's some more too as well.
How long
And
has Danville had it?
oh, it's they've had our previous generation before that, so I would say 5+ years. Yeah. So
Let's not forget that the sheriff's department actually does have cameras that have never really been out of the boxes because they were the cheaper, less useful versions. So we've already been down the road of buying cheaper stuff. At the end of the day, what we need to do is make sure that the sheriff's department is protected with the best equipment that we can get them, and that the public is protected by the best equipment we can get them. So while I appreciate the bid process, I do hope that we can get a hold of Chris Herron pretty quickly, get the information on whether we actually need to put this out for bid or based on patents and other items of what exactly our duly elected official in the sheriff's department has told us his department needs, that we can get this knocked out and taken care of. I'm not speaking for John, but I know in the sheriff's committee, I firmly think that we need to move forward with this, and we need to figure out how to pay for it. We spend a lot of money on a lot of other things that aren't quite as needed as this, so.
In the environment that we are in right now, I totally agree with that.
Okay, Jamie has.
Yeah, and I agree with those sentiments as well. I do think this is something we need to move forward with as quickly as we can. Can you all provide a letter stating that you're a sole source provider based on the technology?
Oh, it's right there.
Absolutely.
I had it printed up, brought down.
Okay, great. So I think
Make
that's
sure the treasurer has a copy of.
That's an important step in
That
this
Keegan has a
process.
copy of everything.
That, as he said, I think that
We're not going to
county
vote on that
attorney
today. This is the presentation.
Herron needs to
We don't-
work on, and then I do think we need to work on and address the issue of who's actually purchasing these and who's going to own them.
That's exactly right.
And then I think we also, and from that point, then we do need to look at this as a budgetary decision and deciding if the circumstances are such that we want to make an adjustment to our budget. So I think those are all important steps that have to happen as we move forward. But I agree with everything that's been said. This is extremely important tool for our sheriff's department, for our citizens, for our county attorney, and for all those reasons that we've all stated before.
I agree
Absolutely.
in all regards. If nobody has any other questions or comments, I think this has been an excellent presentation. I feel like we have a better feel for what the technology is. I like the no human hands altering anything that's going on. That's a huge plus from a legal standpoint. I'm not an attorney, don't want to be, but you know.
I do have one more question. What, if we were to go with this, what's the time frame? How long before we get them? How long before they get installed? All that stuff, because that's important. Training, whatever. How long? What's the time frame?
Installation also, it's not included in that. The installation of the, and the last one that we got, and we can have to print it up. Sam sent us was around $11,000
to install
for every one of the vehicles.
Okay.
And I think a real important aspect that goes along with what you're saying is that there has to be a policy in place before you go live.
Correct.
There has to be a policy in place before you go live. Whose policy is that? Is that a fiscal court policy, or does it work in with your policies and procedures internally in the sheriff's office? That's something that needs to...
It'll definitely be in ours, whether
Yeah.
that's something you all implement. I mean, obviously, I feel like we need the cameras. I don't have the money to buy them. I mean, you choose to go with the cheaper version.
I think we need to, I know, but I think we need to talk about that, because there's ways that we can work through things like that, so, yeah.
But it'll definitely be in our policy manual, and you know, depending on who the purchaser and all that different stuff, if that's something you all choose to put in the county's personnel,
I think they go kind of hand in hand, so that's why I think there needs to be an internal conversation about the logistics of purchasing policy, and having the county attorney even talk about if the sheriff's department purchased them, the fiscal court then probably wouldn't need a policy. Now, if the fiscal court purchases them, is there a requirement there's a policy? Because I don't know the technicalities of that, but I think those are questions that need to be answered.
Okay. So back to my question though, of installation.
Lead time.
Huh?
Lead time.
Lead time.
Right? You say, hey, Peter, we want to go, let's do this live, right? So from the time we get the order and paperwork, there's some IT paperwork and whatnot, we get everything in hand, it's roughly about 12 weeks from when you're online. And that includes a technician coming on site, setting it up, really for close to a week. He's going to be here where we turn it on and we go live at
Bill?
that point. So,
Hey, Bill.
Yes, sir.
Upload speed, is that an issue for you? Or, I mean, I know we talked about it a little bit earlier.
Right now, Mr. Klaus, we're running 400 down and 20 up. And that would be, but that feeds county attorney, sheriff, fiscal court offices, and a few offices up here. So I think we would probably have to take a look at our internet speeds.
Is 12 weeks enough time if we need to make, I mean, it's not if, but if this goes through, if we need to make adjustments on the upload, is 12 weeks enough time for you to get that knocked out, or what?
It depends on what's available with, at this point, we use a local company, and I'd have to check with them to see what our options were with them, or if we would have to go to a fiber solution.
I know fiber is available in the area. I have it out in my neck of the woods, but I would ask, since there's a lot of moving parts, maybe you check into that just to see, so that way when we come together, we can have all the answers instead of more questions.
I've done some preliminary checks, but I'll get some numbers nailed down and what our options can be to accommodate this system.
Thank you. Thanks, Bill.
There's one other element to this that I think that we'll have to consider in due course. In discussions with any vendor that we choose to go with, if we go with a vendor, and that is the fact that the maintenance or the management of the information has to be maintained, and that nearly facilitates a person trained in being able to provide that recorded data and be able to search and get it. I don't know that we have that capability in-house right now. This would be beyond Bill's capability to go into the system, I think, and provide information to the court. Am I thinking?
I'm assuming you guys have some sort of training for that kind of, not.
They do have training for that,
Yeah.
but we're talking about a physical person dedicated to the process, much like Danville's had.
Once we have a video camera system, we already do several open record requests a week.
Right.
This is going to quadruple that, and with that being said, the information that they're looking for may require somebody to go through hours and hours and hours and hours of video to be pulled, downloaded onto a disk or a storage device. That's just another issue that's probably legitimately a full-time job for somebody that would have to go through and manage this to bring not just open records requests, but the county attorney says, hey, I need a video from this DUI arrest. And so that would be his job. Okay, I go through, okay, there was 2 juveniles in the car. Okay, we got to blur their face out, or it was an instant with the juvenile and you have to redact, an address or something that could be made public. That in itself is a whole other can of worms.
So we need that figured out as well.
Well, maybe I'm way too simplistic in this because my tech skills are very low, but you've got an incident report from 3, 4, 5 years back. You know when it happened, you know where it happened and everything, and you supply Mr. Klaus with, it was on December 21 at 11 o'clock at the intersection of 127 and 150, then that's going to be fairly simple for you to find for us, or for us to find, if it's in our hands, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's really.
Litigation
Or somebody,
sometimes takes 3 to 5
or somebody
years
looking for traffic stops in the last 6 months on every female.
That's different.
They may have not gotten a citation, or you can't go back, so you have to have somebody going through every deputy in every traffic stop for the last 6 months or on the storage to say, okay, this was a female, okay, I'll save that. This was a male, okay, I don't need that.
I'm thinking of litigation that's 3 years out, and we have to find something, we can find it quickly on that one incident.
We're getting ahead of the game here a little bit, guys, on what, the capability exists. I think in essence of time, he's been on the podium for 40 minutes.
He's done a good job.
And he's done a great job.
Yeah.
We
Well,
need to move
let's
on.
just look at this time frame. We've got 12 weeks. There's a lot happening in the world right now, and 12 weeks could mean a large issue for this county if we sit on this too long. So I'm happy to wait around a little bit if we want to have a discussion about this, because I think we need to have, and it could be.
The finance committee is meeting on the finance committee is meeting on the 14th.
That's 2 weeks. So that now we're 14 weeks away. So I mean, honestly, this.
Well, and I agree with that there is urgency, but at the same time, there's processes that are important that we follow and work through all the appropriate processes, because I keep hearing layers and layers of other expenditures that we need to talk
You're
about.
right.
We've
You're right.
got manpower, issues. We've got upload speed issues.
Yeah, but my question, it goes back to, are we going to be a help or a hindrance to this time frame? So if you guys are meeting in 2 weeks and you're going to discuss it then, is this not important enough to maybe say, you know what, let's meet a little sooner to get this taken care of? That's all I'm trying to do, because
with proof of the capabilities not available from anyone else and no patent pending, I would say we could have a special meeting next week and expedite this thing.
I don't think we need to.
I think you need
I
to
think
know
the
what your
biggest
upload speeds are and your options there, and let your staffing have the time to be able to gather this information before we make definitive decisions about it.
And I think the biggest, when we get in a rush, we're going to screw up. So let's take our time and make sure we're doing the right thing. I don't care if it does take 12 weeks.
all right, I'm just trying to avoid a lawsuit that will cost us a lot more than what this
we've
is.
been at this for
We're-
100 years. And
Sir,
we
we're
haven't-
due for
we've
something,
survived it.
so
We've had
I'm just-
lawsuits. We've had
Bear in
lawsuits
mind,
before.
for the record, if I'm incorrect, tell me, but I don't think KSP has any kind of body cam, dash cams.
They don't.
They do not. We are working with KSP currently. So.
Yeah.
That's not to say they are going,
Right,
with
I
the watch guard,
understand.
right, but we are actively working with the state.
I think
Moving right along.
they technically need to, they see that necessity as well,
Okay.
which is, because that's been pretty much publicized
If
that
it
they don't
pleases
have
the
it.
court, I'd like to move along, because we've heard, yes, sir, John, real quick, last
Just real quick,
comment. Yes.
does WatchGuard have a finance way to help people purchase these?
Yes, absolutely.
They do? Okay.
Yes, and that's something.
Don't need to know, I just didn't know if you had one.
Yeah, we do, and I just a second on it, because we're a Motorola Solutions company. They have their own financing that is in-house with
All right.
Motorola that tries to make it easier, if that makes sense,
okay.
right? It's not a
Right.
third-party company out somewhere else.
Can you
All
get
right.
that information to Sheriff so we know?
Absolutely.
Peter, thank you so much
Thank
for
you
your
so much.
presentation, Sheriff.
Thank you.
Good
Sorry to take
job.
so long, but this is an important conversation.
No, absolutely.
All right, give it to Miss Ann here. Yeah, that'd be perfect.
Thanks, sir.
Information on the camera.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Put it in her box.
Thank you,
I don't
James.
see it today.
Can you send the jailer in when you leave?
All right, next, Jailer Wofford.
Send him in.
Thank you, guys.
Good morning, good morning.
Morning, morning, morning.
Whoa, hello.
Morning. I'm fine. How you doing? Thank you, sir.
Thank you. That's like me trying to open a bag out of Kroger. And I'm sitting there and I want to blink my finger so bad, but I'm like, it's probably not a good idea to lick your fingers right now.
I just
No.
Jamie, I just looked at
So I go find some compensation. That's probably not even better.
Is this?
Go on. Okay.
That's the
Thank you.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you all.
Thank you, Peter.
Looks like one of the gauges in my plane.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it?
What you got for us, sir?
All right, so you should have received in your packet a bid for our roofing metal. And then what I just passed out is the diagram of what it looks like, kind of the specs. I've met with Duane, and he gives it his approval. We will need to, and I think the one that Deputy Williams, this, by the way, this is Glenn Williams, he's our maintenance deputy, does a great job, very knowledgeable, and he saves the county a lot of money because he can do a lot of things himself. We
Thank you,
don't
sir.
have to call people.
Thank you
come
for
to do
that.
it. So, and I think Glenn is recommending that we go with the top one, or well, my top one would be Quality Outdoor Products. And they're actually going to show up either this afternoon or in the morning and help us come up with a solution on the corners, because there's so many bends in the corners.
That's
So
small print. Is that,
It
that number?
2570.40.
Okay, that is the
that's the one that
total material cost.
that's for the metal.
Okay.
We'll still have to buy probably some drill bits, some of the saw blades, the anchors, and the cement epoxy, those kinds of things. So I think Glenn has estimated that around what, 15?
Yeah, maybe 12.
But
No, we
$1,200.
We're just repairing part of it, am I correct?
What
Not
we're
the whole roof.
Right, not the whole roof. It is the, if you've seen those pictures, it's the caps that go
The cap
around the building.
around the
Right.
wall.
Now,
The
we're
top.
going to do the insides of the outdoor rec areas. We're not going to do the outsides of those because we have to lease a cherry picker to get up, and the rain's going to rain on those anyway because they're
Okay.
outdoors, but we're going to do the ones that on the inside.
I'll make the motion, we approve the
Second.
bid from Quality Outdoor Products.
Yeah, there
Along with-
is a budget line item that has repair facilities in it. Is that correct?
I think, yes. And then along with the extra material, we
Who's this
would need.
gentleman with you?
This is Glenn Williams. This is my maintenance deputy. So
Okay.
he does a great
We
job.
met him before.
I don't believe so.
I don't know if this may be the first time he's been here.
Glenn what?
Williams.
Williams.
Glenn Williams. How long you been with him?
A little over a year now.
Okay.
and he does a great job. He's very knowledgeable, saves us a lot of money because he's one of those guys, if it's something he doesn't know how to do, he can watch them come and do it, and then the next time he can do it, so we don't have to call.
Great.
So it looks, is that 2570?
0.40.
Yes, sir.
2570, 40.
And then
40.
plus another 1,200 on top for
Is that what
material.
you want to ask for, is 1,200 in pieces, parts? And
You think that, yes, sir.
so we're looking at 3770, 40.
Right.
All right, and that's lower than the other two. Well,
Anyway,
That's my bid, or that's my motion.
I second it already.
motion made by Magistrate Gay and seconded by Magistrate Cohen to approve $3,700 for repair of the roof cap out at the detention center. Questions, comments, or discussion?
When will this be done?
Well, like I say, the company's coming today to look at the corners. So today or tomorrow. So soon as, if we get the approval, we'll go ahead and place the order, and they'll have to bend everything to spec. It's on that handout, so they're going to do they have the brakes
Okay.
where they can do
So
that.
you're talking about right away, then
in the next week or two, however long it takes
Call
them
for
to
the
bend that much
question, Judge.
metal.
All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Thank you.
And Judge, have one other thing. I received this back from the state. We need to have you sign on the second party, and you're the only one that signs, actually, the SAP contract, the Department of Corrections will sign as the first party, and then you're the only one that needs to sign it. They said the county attorney can initial out beside it if he likes, but here's the email describing it.
We did that, but apparently I signed in the wrong spot as first party.
So he's
So
saying
I
we're
need
the
to
second
sign
party,
in the second party.
but there's an email talking about it.
Okay, you need that back today?
You can scan it in, fax
Yeah.
it, or email it to me,
Yeah.
and I'll send it on to
All right.
the state.
We'll do that.
And then one other thing, I still have not received our request for the check yet,
Okay.
so still waiting. You have any time frame when we'll be able to receive it, so we can keep our record straight?
I have to look to my treasurer for that,
I reckon it'll be sometime before I leave. I don't know.
which is pretty quick.
I'd say the next day or two.
All right.
All right.
Hey, in other words, it's in the mail.
Not to worry, not to worry, but the county treasurer always does what she says she's gonna do.
Oh.
Judge, there's one other thing to at least call your attention to, and I'm sure that the jailer has seen this already, but there's a letter in the paper today that's a little bit disturbing about census. I think we all ought to take a close look at it, and perhaps, Jamie.
I haven't seen that yet.
We need to talk about it, because I have some concerns about some projected ideas, and I'm not sure who the source of that information was.
All right. Thank you, Brian.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Brian.
Nice to meet you. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Williams.
Good to meet you, sir.
All right, Duane Campbell's next.
Go ahead, Tom, up to it.
He's watching with Mariah.
Okay.
Here he comes. Here he
He's not
comes.
with us in person, yeah.
Hey.
And he's got Attorney Mark Morgan with him to discuss the shared use pad out at 2168.
I don't feel comfortable without our attorney here.
Oh, shoot. And I had a question for you, too. Well, anyway, all right.
Play piano, Mark.
We're
Hey,
here to
sir.
discuss the bids that we opened at the very near the first of the month for the extension of our shared use path along 2168 from Bergen Road out to the railroad bridge, the overpass. We had 4 bidders. We had received 4 bids, and I think I gave you a tally of all those. And but we have an issue, so I want to quickly explain this to you.
No issues.
The low bid number-wise was Sensible Design at $306,738.43. The second low bid was from the Allen Company, which we're all familiar with here in Danville, at $312,415.78. The other 2 were above that. In our specs and in our advertisement, there was a requirement that a successful bidder had to be on the pre-qualified bidder list of the state prior to, or at least by the bid opening date. Okay? Sensible was not on that list. They're a DBE, they're a minority contractor, and they are on that list, but they're not on the pre-qualified list. David Moses, our consulting engineer, reviewed that and verified that. Kim Tompkins, who is the administrator of the grants, she verified that. And then I also contacted the lady that's in charge of that department that registers these companies or pre-qualifies these companies, and she verified that back to me in an email. And I think you have a copy of, her name is Shella. You have a copy of her email to me, and you have a copy of Kim's email back to me verifying that. So, and I sent you all that just to let you know, because it can get complicated. But Sensible Design does not meet the requirements. They also did not submit a complete document, bid document, which was required by the Spec 2. I think I sent you copies of both of those spec pages so you could see those paragraphs. So just to explain to you why today I'm recommending that we accept the Allen Company's bid of $312,415. Now, before you take action on that, that means that our contract amount has to change. Our current contract is for construction. I brought it with me, Mary, believe it or not. I just have to find it.
Question I got while you're looking for
Go
that,
ahead.
Duane,
Yes.
is as Miss Angela Sensible, I know I've received some communiques from her. As anybody from the state or you or anybody else officially has said, we've examined all the criteria and the timing on this submission or this bid, and it does not meet the criteria. Has anybody said that to her?
Yes, I reached out to her and communicated to her and told her that we could not consider her bid because she was not on the pre-qualified list. And then she responded back and actually admitted that she had made a mistake by not being on that list by that bid date. But she asked us to reconsider that. She, sent us a special request to reconsider that. And so I then forwarded a copy of her email to Kim Tompkins, and that's what, initiated her response back about her response, is that we cannot accept her
Tompkins'
bid.
response was after the second appeal.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Right.
Okay.
Right. The email that I sent you was, yes, after her appeal, after Sensible's appeal to us. But we have no leeway in these types of contracts. This is not a locally funded, even though we put up a match, this is not a locally funded contract. This is a TAP grant. This is a federal funded grant, and we have to follow all the guidelines letter by letter, don't we, Mary?
Oh my gosh, yes. Which leads me to the question about a contract versus a bid.
Right. Okay. Under our current contract, we have $259,591 available for construction. Kim Tompkins has been working on an amended contract to include the additional amount of money that it would take to match this, to come up with this $312,000. All right, where are my numbers at? I'm dancing around here. So on the new contract, it would mean that, oh shoot, hold on. Got too many papers. I'm trying to go too fast. Under the new contract, it would mean that they would offer to us or provide to us an additional $42,000 in federal funds for the completion of this project. It would also mean that we would have to provide about $10,500 in match. Now we hope to provide most of that in in-kind services, which is we still have some in-kind services that we have not submitted. And that'll be construction inspection and maybe some other little items that we do along the way as part of the construction. So we hope to cover a lot of that additional cost with in-kind services. But you never know, this is all temporary yet. And so I guess what we need to ask, number one, that we agree to the contract amendment, the new contract.
I need to ask a question.
Go ahead, keep me straight.
Because I wasn't prepared for this conversation, because I didn't get the last few emails.
Well, this came late last night.
Okay, so the $259,590.
That was, yes.
That's in there.
Yes.
Which includes force accounts that we've already taken care of. If the contract is $312,000 that the fiscal court may potentially approve, then if you do not use and you add the $42,000 federal cash money to that, will the force account, the additional force account, because what I see is that there's another $10,000 of cash that's got to be able to equal the 312 unless they're allowing you to do additional in-kind work to reduce that 312 down to the 300,000.
Yes,
Right. That's what they're doing. That's
and you
what
are
they're
correct.
going to do.
That's what,
On the
that-
in-kind.
that's
Yeah,
what
nobody
they,
talked to us about that, but okay.
that's what they've agreed to. But I think today, we need to consider approving up to the additional $12,000 of cash outlay as a match, just in case.
That was, okay, that's
Okay?
where we are.
Am I, yeah, all right?
That's where I think I am.
Okay, yes.
And where does that 12 come from?
It'll have to come out of reserve.
Same place.
You know, I mean, to do the approval, I think that's the prudent thing we'd have to do today, or at least ask that you consider doing today. And if we can cover a large portion of that, if not all of it, with additional in-kind, as you said, yes. then we
But
would.
the other thing too, now these are other things that we can talk about as well, because what the federal guidelines require is that you accept a bid. First and foremost, I need a contract, I think, before you accept a bid.
Yes.
That's what
Oh,
I'm
no,
concerned
well, yeah,
about. Okay.
absolutely.
Because they won't pay for something that hasn't been
Right,
contracted.
right.
Oh dang, the second thing is that after you approve a bid though, there's the capability, then at that point in time, you can negotiate. So that's another.
Negotiate what, I'm sorry?
I said, after a bid is accepted, then and only then can the fiscal court offer the ability to negotiate, if there's any requirement to do so.
Negotiate what?
You know, the bid. So if, you know, as it relates to cash,
Okay,
cash match,
yeah, okay.
and, you know, is there things we can do to negotiate that 312 with additional in-kind or
Yes.
something that I don't know what's in that additional 312?
Right. Well,
So,
and that's in the process too. She's in the process of getting approval for us to increase our in-kind amount
But this
over the original proposal.
What Mary's talking about is with the vendor negotiating. After what?
We haven't negotiated with the vendor, we've negotiated.
You cannot negotiate with a vendor
we have-
until
we have-
after a bid is accepted.
Yeah, we have.
Okay.
But we
Yeah.
have communicated with the state administrator,
Right.
who's communicated with the Federal Highway Administration, who's already crossed about 70% of the desk to allow the in-kind that we are doing anyway to count towards this match. So
It's just
we're-
not a done deal, but it's one.
not a
That
done
pipe
deal.
cinch.
And we don't want to overpromise or guarantee anything and not deliver, but it's gotten green lights on about half of the desks so far, and it appears that if it's success, we're told there will be success, and that what we're asking for on the 12 is a ceiling, and that we may have some good news once it crosses other desks.
so is our first step in this process to accept the bid today with the contingency or not?
Contract.
No, you need a contract before you do anything with this, with the additional money in it, because the federal government will come back and slap our hands and.
But I guess I don't understand how they know what the price is if we don't accept the bid at first.
Because there's some indication already. I always understand that you cannot, and this is the part where it gets iffy, is that you have to have a contract in place with the federal government before you can proceed forward. Otherwise, they don't acknowledge anything that you've done prior to. So I would make sure you have a contract in your hand before you accept, because you've got quotes, you've got bids. You don't have an approved bid, but you have a guideline to work from, and the federal government has that to work from. So if you approve a bid and the federal government doesn't come back with the additional funds, then what are you going to do?
Well, we just have to.
The agreement,
The
draft agreement that we just
Hey, Mark,
received.
can you come to the microphone, just make sure?
The draft agreement that we just received, that we passed a hard copy to Mary, should rise to the level of a contract. So that's in the works, and today is probably going to be an informational We need to make certain that you all are updated on everything that's going on. We've worked hard to do that, and we are going to want to move forward so that we can meet the asphalt deadlines on getting this project done this season, and that's realistic, but it's probably going to be action at the next meeting, approving the agreement contract, accepting the bid, and then authorizing the sealing of 12, and it may be by that time that it will have crossed everybody's desks at Highway Administration and State DOT, so that our the action we're seeking from the fiscal court would be even more straightforward.
Got it.
And you can even have a special meeting if you want to for it.
Yeah,
specifically.
if we know
Approve
the
and then
contract's
approve
been approved.
The quote, and then
And the
approve the
amounts.
cash outlay from reserve, all of the things.
And that may be the better way to go. I mean, we were told that we could do it subject to, we just to be sure we put that in the motion. That's the reason I prefaced all that with all this.
I'd prefer to have a
budget
special
stuff.
call meeting to know that we have it in hand, not subject to.
Have the contract. Well, and the thing about the contract that we just saw was that if you look at the bottom, it says there may be a resolution required in big bold letters. So there may be, just like another funding, there may be a resolution that's got to go along with it anyway. So that probably wouldn't be a bad thing.
I hesitate to ask the question, but I've got to ask the question because I don't have the legal mind that you guys do, especially Mark. If there is virtually an amended or new contract, does that facilitate a need to rebid the process?
No, it would be an amended contract. It's anticipated. This sort of back and forth is typical of a grant situation when we get into actual bids.
So you don't have to rebid?
No, this is part of the bidding process that's anticipated, and it would be routine, and it's a good question.
Yeah. The bids are, though, only good for 60 days.
Well, hopefully we'll know before that.
Right.
What
But that would be the thing that would come into play to answer your question maybe a little better.
And just one quick question back to the beginning of these bids. Have you let Sensible know that we can't accept their?
Yes.
Okay.
I've actually committed. I've told that to them twice.
Okay. 'Cause reading the email, it seems like they've kind of committed to us, but I want to make sure that they can take other projects.
Yeah.
So.
Well,
okay.
Judge and I discussed it because he saw that email early on, and so that prompted me to actually go back and do a little more legwork and homework to have these other emails.
So this is just informational stuff. We'll get back together and finalize it.
Yeah. And my last communication with her, I did actually forward to her copies of these emails that I received.
That's fine.
Stating that that
just want to make sure that communications happened. Okay. Thank you all very much.
Could I?
Yeah.
One other thing I wanted to do, and that's I want to thank Mary for 28 years of good service to our community. All of us have benefited. Our children have benefited, and I mean that so much. Thank you very much.
Well, you've got the board there.
Nobody brought tissues for Mary today.
Judge?
Moving right along.
Or you want to vote on this first?
I don't think there's anything to vote for.
No, there isn't right now.
We can do it all at the same. We can do the agreement.
Yeah,
Let's wait until we have a contract in hand. We'll move forward. We know the amount and the cash and everything.
Thank y'all very much.
For Mark, I understand that you're doing some work or getting ready to out on Hughes Lane.
That's what happened, I'm proud to say, through a combination of the Kentucky Utilities putting up a $25,000 grant. Rob and Marion Cowell and Honeybun and Ronnie have all worked together with KU and with AdKev and Megget and several of the companies out there, and we've put in on Saturday a 10-foot bike lane, shared use path, from the terminus of Hughes Lane to Corporate Drive. And it's going to have balustrades and a type of fencing that Earl Coffey's putting in that bikes and pedestrians can go through, but not automobiles.
Is that on right of way, or is it on have to get bids from the other people?
It's on a right of way. That was a green right of way that Jerry Cowell, Rob's father and Honeybun's father, negotiated when the industrial foundation was formed to create a green space. I think it's 40 feet wide,
between the Industrial Foundation and the Cowell Farm. But I encourage you all to go out, or at the Danville-Boyle County Trails Alliance page on Facebook. There's a video that Rob took from his plane. He did a flyover that's really neat. There's several photographs of it. Ultimately, we've...
Well, as that come on, you're doing a lot of talking, and we got time.
All right.
So
Well,
I appreciate it. Was that come all the way to 150?
That just is a quarter of a mile from connecting Hughes Lane to Corporate. But Wilderness Trail has also agreed they're going to put in trails. The Ag Extension has already put them in. BCTC, we're meeting with them. And Rob has put in a 2-mile trail. He's already faced it up on this green easement. And the city is talking about putting Class I sand on it. And so there will be several miles out in that part of the Industrial Foundation that eventually you can reach.
Only thing I have is I'm still the magistrate in that district, okay?
Yes.
I reckon I still am. I'd like to be informed or kept informed of what's going on in my district.
That's good, Phil, and I fully agree with you. And
I didn't know a thing about it. Just recently here, we're digging up dirt, and Sammons, you're asleep.
Well, I'd love to go out there with you anytime. Let me know.
I'd like to know what's happening in my district.
Well, I'd like to take you out there. I'd like to take you out there or
all I have
sit
to
down
say.
with you. Okay.
All right. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you all very much.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate you all.
All right.
Thank you.
Good to see you guys.
Gary, thanks again.
Thank you, Mark. I appreciate your kind comments.
I mean it. Take care.
Thank you.
Be glad to get these damn bike trails all over the county, and then go ahead, I'm sorry.
All right. Let's see. We got to talk about the Great American Brass Band letter. You have it before you.
Yes.
The stipulation on the appropriation was for the purpose of, Mary, I can't remember.
Everybody should have a copy. Oh, the original one,
Was for, I believe it was the sound equipment and stage.
yeah, thanks.
Sam, okay.
Bathrooms and stuff, but
All right.
yes. And it was for items during the actual festival itself.
So you've seen the letter. What's your pleasure? And they didn't meet the appropriations stipulation.
I think we'll let them keep the money myself, because I think this is very important to the community, and I think knowing that they really need the funds, so that's my pleasure.
I'll second that motion.
I will say that maybe we give this as a credit for next year, that they don't receive an appropriation next year, if they're going to use it for this year.
That's a separate issue to the motion.
Okay.
I'll call for the question.
Motion made by Magistrate Sammons to allow them to keep the appropriation as already presented, and seconded by.
Based on,
Magistrate
and I would say, I would just add that that's based on their amended appropriation request.
Well, it's a final disbursements report.
Okay.
So what that is actually the follow-up of how they spent their money.
Okay, I will accept that correction then.
What's he say?
Yeah, what she said.
Okay.
They were put in an untenable situation, and having the contract out prospectively, they were caught in the lurch on this. Plain and simple.
All right.
I think they need to be a little better with their funds going forward. So.
All those in favor of the motion as presented, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Thank you. Now, do you want to make a motion, or do you want to?
Yeah, I mean, I'll make the motion
You
that.
don't have to
that this,
make a motion.
Well, I'll either make it now or later, but.
Magistrate Colin, can I interrupt you? Don't you think it?
I don't think it's going to stop me if I say no.
Your motion should wait until next budget time, and at budget time.
Well, that's what I was getting ready. That's what I was getting ready to say. That either way, I'll make it then or I'll make it now. But I think it should be.
Let's just wait. We've made a motion that they've spent, and
sometimes we tend to forget though when we do these things.
I apologize. Just so that the treasurer's office understands what's going on. So the final disbursement report was for last year's money that you gave them in the prior fiscal year. So they've got in the budget still an additional amount of funds that are available to be requested and they have a budget listed for that as well. So that's where we are. It's not for next year's budget.
Correct.
We're talking about,
That's money we've already sent.
this was money that we sent prior to June 30th, 2019.
That's correct.
For an intended festival in September that didn't happen. Plus, they also have money for this fiscal year that they can request.
That's right.
Yeah.
So what you're saying is that maybe the motion should be that we utilize.
No, I'm just saying that there's two different pots of money, because we're talking about next year's budget, and next year's budget doesn't have anything to do with this year's appropriation. What
Correct.
you
That's right.
just cleaned up was last year's appropriation.
Understood. So their request for 2020's appropriation is the same?
It's still in the budget, has not been dispersed.
No. My question is it for the same equipment that they've always, what was the request for?
I don't have that.
Okay, I didn't think you would. Okay, you brought it up, so I didn't know if you had had it or not. So.
I'm just trying to clarify that
Yeah.
you all understand what the process is and what we're talking
And
about.
that 2020 request will be for the festival in 2021 if it happens.
Yes, in June. That's usually kind of the way it works. The current year's request is for the current year's festival in June. That usually takes place in June. The only one that kind of got off kilter was the one that didn't happen in June of 2019 and was deferred until June of 2020, that was deferred to September of 2020, that never happened.
So I guess my motion could be that we hold dispersing the 2021 festival money and use that as the credit since we've given them this money that wasn't used.
That would leave a hole in their budget for next year.
Have you looked at their budgets over the last several years and their finances? Because I think that'd be an important thing to look at before we go ahead and just give them money. I think that previous directors left them in really good shape, and there was a lot of overspending that happened, which has cost them to not have the ability to have cash flow in a time like this. Just like all of us have had to tighten our budgets, we have to be prepared for problems, and if problems persist, we can't pay for things. You know, I can't just go out and buy a new TV because I want a new TV when I have, no money coming in. And so that's why we need to make sure that when we're processing these events that are very good for the community, but we have to still understand that this is taxpayer money that we're spending, and we and they should be good stewards of that money. So that would be my issue, and I already have a concern that if they need this money so badly if you look at some of the things in here, it's not like this money is going to be carried over. It's money that's already spent, and so I'm worried about their finances going forward. So,
Well, let's worry about it at budget time. We're moving right along.
well, again, we've already appropriated money for them. That's what Mary's telling us. This is money from before June of.
Money that was.
This is money.
So they're going to come. They're going to come
decided not to pay
asking
back.
for money here for the festival that's going to be coming up, and then in April we're going to be giving them they're going to ask again for money in 2022.
Well, we'll vote on it at that time.
Okay, you and I aren't seeing eye to eye on this one because
Did-
we've already given them money for
Did the
2020.
motion satisfy the statements in this letter?
Yes.
So the fiscal court asked us to ask for a refund of last year's 2020 budget money that we
Yeah,
dispersed
that's
to
what
them.
we asked
And
for,
we asked
to
for
be
their money
reimbursed.
back. You all have decided not to take the money back because the final disbursements report complies with what spending requirements are constitutional, and you approve that. But there is still, is it $10,000 in this year's budget? 10,000. So that will be a consideration in June, I guess, depending upon the status of their next festival.
Right.
So I guess what maybe we could do is if we find out the festival is going to be delayed, or if there's going to be a change in that the fiscal court can have a conversation about this year's appropriation upon festival time and planning.
Correct.
Yeah, we kind of make this as a one-off that if the festival doesn't happen in June when it's supposed to, they don't get money in March because they're planning on it. We hold it to make sure the actual festival happens. And then in April, when we start going over budgets again, then we can start fresh. That was.
And this is something you all can direct the treasurer's office. It has always been policy that we paid those funds toward the end of May for the festival because all of the expenditures that the fiscal court was responsible for came at festival time. So I never let that money go out of the door until right before, at the last court date in May, because they didn't need our money until then. So that's something you all can direct us to do.
But if I remember correctly, and it goes back to they didn't need our money before because they were doing well, but this time they were.
Request is for the festival itself.
Yeah, but this time they came in March, if I believe correctly, asking for that money. They asked for it in advance of the May, which they normally don't do. I believe you told me before.
I think they did ask for it in advance, but I think they asked for it in advance in May.
Okay.
And then told us that the festival would be in
September.
They originally came to us in August or September, and we decided in 2019, and we decided not to give them the money. The city, in turn, gave them that money up front early, and we said we would give them the money at the end for festival time, which was deferred until September. So we did give them money, and then they deferred the festival. So, yeah.
All right.
Or terminated.
So, yeah, I would, Keegan, come May next year, let's revisit this and make sure that they're actually going to have the festival before we release that next round of funding.
Sounds good.
Thank you,
That's
sir.
what we was talking about earlier, before you made this 30-minute speech.
All right.
Moving right
I had to help you along.
Next,
I can only
Shannon
connect the
Greene.
dots so many times for you, sir.
Thank you, Shannon.
You're welcome. Last court meeting, we had brought Julie Wagner's name for the county administrator. She's accepted that position.
Fantastic.
So her start date will be effective October 16th, and her salary will be $45,000.
Make a motion to approve.
Now make a second.
Hopefully she makes it back from California.
Motion made by Magistrate Dallas to approve the hire of Julie Wagner at the stipulated date and salary. Seconded by Magistrate Sammons. Discussions?
Nope.
All those in favor signify. Excuse me.
Wonderful talent. Glad to get her back.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Thank you. Motion carried.
And the other is, we are losing an animal control officer. Jacob is leaving us, so I'd like approval to
I'll make that-
advertise for his position.
I'll make that motion.
Motion made to
Second.
advertise for an animal control officer, made by Magistrate Cohen, seconded by Magistrate Gay. Any discussion on the announcement, the advertisement for an ACO?
Through difficult times that we all know about in many ways, he's done a wonderful job.
Yeah,
Yep.
yes. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Appreciate it, Shannon.
Thanks, Shannon.
You,
Shannon, when will that be advertised?
I'll put it
Shannon,
in probably this week.
And make sure that Humane Society gets a link to it.
I'm on that committee, chair of that committee. Keep me informed on what's going on with it if you get
I will.
somebody. Okay?
I will.
Thank you.
All right. Treasurer Conley,
Giving her life.
you're on the agenda.
Yep, it's your final report that I just have to submit to you, that I don't quite understand this report, but it's a statutory requirement of our office, and it is finalized and completed and circulated and sent to the media. Thank you to Ms. Nagy to do that for me, and as required by law, and there you have it.
Good job. Let's give her a big hand.
Thank you, Phil. Thank you, everybody.
So we just have to basically acknowledge receipt of the treasurer's final report?
I think you need to approve it, to be perfectly honest with you.
I'll make a motion, we approve it.
All right, who made the motion
I
to
did.
approve?
Second.
Made by Sammons, seconded by Magistrate Gay. Discussion? All those in favor signify by
If
saying
we
aye.
voted, if we voted against it, would we have to, would we force her to stay? Would she'd have to stay till we voted?
She'd have to stay.
Well, that may change my mind.
Judge,
John, be good.
Judge, one other thing on the next item there on the agenda.
Wait, okay.
We haven't voted on that, have we?
Not yet. No, not yet, we haven't. All right.
I'm glad you woke up for that part.
All those in favor of the motion to accept the treasurer's settlement report, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Thank you. Now,
that next item,
Jay,
I'd like to make a motion to approve that and have Magistrate Kaywood second it, since we've been around longer than anybody else.
Since you'll
we have a
you'll take the
motion to
multi
approve the appointment of Keegan Hinkle as Boyle County Treasurer effective 1 October 2020. Is there a second? Seconded by Magistrate K.
Amen.
Secondly, I want to thank you, Judge, as well as all of you all in here today for blessing me with this opportunity. I know that maybe some in here, or along with some of the other leaders throughout the county, may have some fear and some doubt because of my age and my experience about my capability to succeed as this county's next treasurer, and that's okay with me. I just wanted to say a little something today, not to just show my gratitude and appreciation, but to also reassure everyone. From a young age, my parents always taught me to have confidence in myself, and if you've been around me long enough, you know that's not something that I lack. So, this is going to be a learning curve, but I'm not only fully confident in my own abilities, but I'm fully confident in the supporting staff that I have around me in this room and throughout this entire county. And with that being said, I believe there's two key things moving forward. And the first is something I thought God had taught me in the last couple of years with having a girlfriend of seriousness. But I know now that I think I've learned an even newer meaning to patience. And starting out, I may not always have the answers right away, but I will always get back to you or anybody else with the information you've asked for and what you need. So not only will I continue my growth in patience, but I need everyone to be patient with me as well. The second key is something I learned over my years of playing sports, and it is vital in more ways than one, and that is communication. I hope that going forward, this is something between myself, the judge, all of you all, the department heads, and everyone else on this county's team, is something that we can continue to improve with strides in the future. As I take this role head on, I promise to give you all my best efforts and to do what is best for the taxpayers of this place I call home. So, I'm excited to bring new insights and new ideas to the table, and I can't wait to see what's in store for us ahead. But once again, I want to thank Miss Mary and thank everyone else, and I hope you enjoy your retirement. And don't worry, I already got in touch with your husband to block my number, so no need to worry.
I wouldn't be too concerned about the whole age thing. Mary, you're 17 when you started here, Mary?
Yeah.
Oh, shoot, no.
Yeah.
Well, I was going to add on that on the youth issue. If that's your only problem, you'll get over that.
I think we
and it won't take long.
Yeah. Hey, I want to say, I think, Keegan, if I may take the privilege of speaking for the court, I think what you just said was a very mature, articulate move to the next level, and the passing of the torch, and I appreciate your gracious statements and comments, and we take those to heart, and I look forward to working with you in the future.
Yes, sir. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good job.
Now, we have the business of approving the appointment of he as our county treasurer.
Effective October 1st.
Effective October 1st. And I have a motion made by Magistrate Ellis. Is there a second to that?
I thought, did we already?
No,
know?
I thought
we already had a motion and a second.
Phil did that?
Phil and John.
Phil and John.
That's right. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
Okay.
The old age.
All right.
I said sage.
Yeah.
Phil and John seconded. So,
Well, John and I feel like it, if he got any questions of that requires any intelligence, he's going to come to us.
There being no further discussion on the matter, all those in favor of appointment signify by saying aye. Aye. Okay, the opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Thank you.
Keegan,
You're duly appointed.
I'll explain to you what he means by Pony Express, okay?
All right. Congratulations to both of you.
Yes.
Committee reports. Let's go around the room. We can wrap this up. We don't have Brother Short here today. He'll mail his in. How about committee reports? Anybody over here?
Tom?
Yes, sir.
I forgot about committee report, so you have to, I've already turned that in some time ago. On September the 1st, the Animal Control Committee met, which consists of Magistrate Short and myself. We met with Christina out at the animal shelter, along with Jacob Wardroff, which he's left now and was advertising for his replacement, and James Good. Going in and looking around the place, we noticed how clean it is, nothing out of order, and we were really impressed with the fact that they only have, at that time, 7 animals, and the 3 of them had already been signed up for adoption at that time. So this was, and we took a tour then of the animal shelters to look at the dogs, and they had one back there that had bitten Jacob, and they were being very careful with this particular animal, and so that was a short meeting. We started at 9 o'clock, or 3 o'clock, I'm sorry, and the committee adjourned after our little tour at 3:27. And gentlemen, that's the animal control report from Magistrate Short, who's not here, and myself.
All right.
Thank you.
Motion to accept?
I'll second.
All right. All those in favor of accepting the animal control report for September, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those like sign, motion carries.
Phil, I have to say, I know I always joke with you, but your ability to remember things just baffles me. You have such a... sitting in committees with you, and especially with Duane, and when you're able to recall the things that were purchased and what they have, I'm always amazed. And so I just, I know you just did that one off the top of your head, so.
It's impressive.
That's a salesman in you, huh?
Next.
I got him right here.
Okay.
EMS committee.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
Yeah, no, I mean that with all sincerity, because I wish I had half the memory that you had on that. So, EMS committee met on 9/15. We considered the full-time hire of Hannah Spainer. We also considered the part-time hire of Kristen Courtwright, not Blake, and Felicia Hamilton. We had 2 people out on FMLA. Power load systems were installed on the 8th, so hopefully they're getting lots of use now. Or not, actually, no. I don't want them getting lots of use.
Good to be there.
Yeah, I'm glad they're there.
Good, glad they're there.
It was a good purchase by the courts, though. They had some items to surplus, which they already talked to us about. A couple printers and fax machines. Truck update from Major Wesley was EC4, spikes in temperature gauge, AC is the issue, in the shop being fixed. EC6 has a list of problems, and then they had their state inspection with no deficiencies. We also met with Boyle County Sheriff's Office this morning, Magistrate Kaywood and I. We discussed, we asked to make sure how prepared they are if current events were to escalate, to protect our officers and citizens, and there were some concerns, but I know they'll rise to the occasion to do best for Boyle County. Body cam presentation will be given, and we asked Bill to be in to advise of IT needs. Sheriff gave instances of positive interactions with the public and is making sure his deputies are sensitive to current situations, and just making sure that he realizes that everybody that his department touches is not just somebody that ran a light or something like that, but they're also a citizen and a friend of the county. And then he did say that the department this year has lost about 3 deputies that have moved on to other agencies. So that was it.
Okay, is it okay with the court that we entertain a motion to approve both the EMS and the sheriff's report concurrently.
My bad.
Second.
All right. Any discussion on the reports? All those in favor of accepting both the EMS and the sheriff's report as presented, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign, and motion carries. Next. Anybody? All right, let's go around the room. New business.
This might be one of the most important things that I bring up this year. I have apparently inherited a circumstance that has been at least brought to the attention of others for 4 or 5 years. Mitchellsburg knob has caused me to get more calls than anything else in the year plus that I've been in this seat. It is a state road. Duane can do little to help me, but now I'm hearing from the leadership of Portland and other areas in the most remote parts of my district. They've invited me to come to their next full board meeting in October. There's a sincere concern, so much so that when I got one of the urgent calls a week or 10 days ago, I jumped in my truck, went out there immediately, made sure my flashers were on, never came to a full stop, but took a half a dozen pictures of the concerns that they have. Whether it be a school bus, a gravel truck, or anything else, I'm not sure I'd want to ride on some of those areas where 6 and 8 feet out from the guardrail, there are splits that I couldn't stop, wouldn't dare stop and get out of my truck in some of those areas because others could be coming around the curve or coming up behind me and not see me sitting there. But this is an issue that we've got to take to the state. They have got to send somebody out there. I will work with the judge. I will work with Duane, but we've got to get them out there, get their engineers to take a look at some of the hazardous areas on Mitchellsburg Knob. And I'm wanting word for word that to be in the minutes because I don't want to be responsible for some terrible circumstance that could develop. We'll plan to collectively get with District 7, get them over here, along with the fire chief and others, and yourself, and we'll go out there and meet with people that frequent that road. Thank you, Jeff. Because it is extremely dangerous with the road falling off out there on the downhill side. Chief Sexton will not take a fire truck across it. And I know that he's going to be supportive of us. Yesterday, I had a good conversation with Matthew Ellis, and he's the head of the Portland Association out there, the community center.
Anything else?
Yeah, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
I'm gonna have to, I don't have any new business other than to just, say, or go along with what Tom said. I've had calls also on that same project, although and I've referred them to Tom, but if Tom is exactly right, you ought to go out there and just drive down there.
Well, it's not a good feeling.
Oh my God,
it's not a good feeling.
It is not. I mean, it's so dangerous. I don't know what you're gonna do, cause it's straight down.
Oh, yeah.
Isn't it, Judge?
It's straight down.
In some sections, you can virtually see tree tops.
Oh, I don't know what they'll do unless they close the road.
And that's how she gets her.
Pardon?
That's how she gets to work.
Oh, is it really? You come up that road?
Anything else?
No, sir. Thank
All
you.
right, thank you. Jason?
He didn't have anything. Moving right along.
Okay.
I actually don't right now. The only thing I want to say is, Mary, I'm very sad that this is our last court day with you, and I am again in awe by all that you've done for this community, and I appreciate it greatly, and I hope that you enjoy retirement, but come back to visit us and keep us in line. Come as a concerned citizen at this point. But no, thank you for all you've done for not only me, but for the court and for this community. The knowledge you have is invaluable, and I appreciate you so much. So, thank you.
I appreciate this court.
I think you're,
and every court before you.
I think you're speaking for the court, and I amen
Yeah,
what
he
he's saying.
is.
And I appreciate you allowing me to do that for once.
Jamie?
Yeah, no, I would echo that. I appreciate those statements by Jason. And I would say that Keegan has been fortunate to be mentored by all state of Kentucky treasurers mentor. She has mentored all the state treasurers, all the treasurers in this state. And so we appreciate you so much and are thankful for your service, and you're going to be greatly missed.
Thank you.
Big
Good.
shoes to fill.
I'm sorry.
And I would just like to add, if I could also, that I would like to ask that we adjourn today.
That was gonna be
in
my
memory
statement,
of- in
too, but
memory
you
of-
told me about that. See,
in honor
great
of-
minds think alike.
Yeah, let's do honor of and not
Well,
memory
in
of.
honor of Mary.
In memory of.
No, I'd like to adjourn in honor of Mary, but also in memory of Tom Broach, who passed away.
Yes, that sounds good.
And was
did
a
he
great
really?
is a great servant to this community for years and years, and in a lot of different capacities. And so I would like to adjourn in honor of Mary and in memory of Tom Broach.
Sounds good.
Oh, Tom's super. I love
All right,
Tom.
Magistrate Haywood.
You stole.
I know, mine too.
But tomorrow is another day. Judge, Constitution Square Committee replacement. We were going, I think I turned one in and you were going
I've
to
got
accept
some
two, I
others.
think.
I got some others. I don't know.
What's the
guys.
procedure on that, sir, going forward?
I've thought about it a lot. I've got several names to consider. We have 3 vacancies, basically. And I would like to take our time replacing them, if it's okay.
Would you, not to cut you off, but would you like maybe us to stop in, take a look at the list and maybe kind of, not vote, but maybe say, okay, this is who we, or do you want to just take the decision on you?
Well, I'm gonna submit a name for consideration for a vote on that of a person that I have not received from other court members. Is one that I want to do for one of the 3 vacant positions, and I want to throw out a name there of Judy Sawicki, who is a long-standing current president of the DAR in this area, and I can't remember the Saint ASAP chapter, but she's had a lot of experience with historical properties in other communities across the state. And
She actually ran their headquarters up in Paris, Kentucky for several years.
And I still have 2 other appointments yet to make, and I would like to discuss those with the recommendations. But if it's okay, we can vote on it now for the one name and still have 2 that we have to look forward to, or we can delay it. But right now, they're down 2. The reason the 3rd vacancy is existing is because I think it's prudent that our new county administrator not continue on as the committee member at BOK.
Can I take back my vote for her as county administrator then?
That would be potentially a conflict.
Okay.
We need her influence, but I understand.
Well, I'll second that motion on you pointing Judy.
I would like to make a motion to appoint Judy Sawicki, and I still have other names to consider, but I'd like to move a little slowly on that if
I
it's
second
okay.
that motion on Judy.
Is there any discussion on that? Anybody have any questions about her?
I think one of the great things about this committee that has been formed by you and this group is that we have so many people that want to serve on it.
Absolutely.
And I'm very excited
and some
about that.
very talented, good, qualified people.
Very much, and it's so hard to find people to sit on boards that are active, so I'm actually very grateful for everyone that puts their name forward.
Judy will do a good job, and Judy's a retired teacher, and I've known Judy for many years, and I think she's a wonderful person.
And I think we've already established that, we kind of leave this, we submit the names, we'll leave this up to you, so.
Well, I have other very qualified names.
Oh, yeah, without a doubt, but.
And so if you would allow me the opportunity, we have a motion, and it's been seconded. All those in favor of Judy Sawicki being on the Birthplace Kentucky Committee, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carried. Thank you for that. If it's okay, I would like to defer future considerations to the next court sessions.
Okay, so we will decide on the other 2 at the next court session, is that?
At least one of them, maybe both.
Well, I've got
vacancies.
one, and this particular person comes back to me and says, well, when,
Okay.
and you can understand.
I do.
I've got to give them an answer.
Okay,
And they're-
we will discuss it between now and the next court session in October.
We'll wrap it up at the next
Yes.
session. Okay, I appreciate that. Well, since we're going to adjourn in her honor and
Memory.
we, you take it away.
If you have anything else, Magic?
No, sir.
Okay,
Put a plaque over there for you, Mayor.
Very sincerely,
Yeah.
we have a special day set aside for Mary's retirement tomorrow, and she'll have her family there. I know we will all be there. I know that Ronnie will be there in spirit. It's going to be a great day. I'm looking forward to it with great joy and anticipation. Today, I would like to adjourn this court session in honor of Mary's 28 years dedicated service to this Commonwealth and this county. She has established herself as the preeminent treasurer across the Commonwealth, who has done tremendous work, not only in Boyle County, but for the whole state.
And it's known all over the state. You mention her name anywhere.
And she is recognized by her peers for her accomplishments and her long-standing service. She has made Boyle County a better place to live.
Judge, my wife and I went down for personal business on her side of the family to Craig County a year ago in the summertime. And the first thing that a lady there said to me is, "Oh, that's where Mary Conley's your favorite."
Yeah.
And we had a wonderful conversation.
And I would also additionally, and this is shared grace, recognized in the memory and the dedication of Tom Broach and the law enforcement to this community in this county and the great accomplishments that that person had. It's fitting that both people have dedicated their lives to Boyle County in some way, shape, or fashion. And I'm honored to be able to adjourn this court in honor of Mary and in memory of Tom Broach and his dedicated service. Entertain a motion.
I'll make that motion.
I second it.
Motion made to adjourn, seconded. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Let's stand up and give Maria a big hand.
Thank you all very much. I really appreciate everything. And, you know, Boyle County is my home and my life, and it takes a good fiscal court to move us forward, and that's what we have here. Thank you.
We're gonna get a lot of speeches tomorrow, and you're gonna get a chance to have your say too.
I know.